We're on the Customer Information screen within the application CRM PM Pro 6.0. There's a lot of information in this screen, so I'm going to be going from the upper left to the lower right to present what's on this screen. Let's start out by looking at the pop-up menu. This is your navigation tool that you're going to use to make your way around the application, which covers all the screens that are currently available in this application, to include one that goes back to the main calendar. We're currently on the customer screen, which is the first screen in this video. Let's go ahead and cover some of the items that are next. There's a Do Action button. I'm just introducing this in this application. What it does is it allows you to do certain different traits or tasks that are required in order to use this application. For example, like adding a new record in the screen. Because applications like this have a parent screen, which means all the other screens, like all the ones over here and some of these here, are portals or separate screens. You only add the record in the parent screen, which is this one, and then these are all subordinate to this screen, and they are linked as child records. So you only have this button where it appears. It'll only appear on the parent screen. The next thing is navigation. On the screens you can go to the next record, prior record, and first record if you're deep down in records. You can actually do a find, and when you do a find, which is this button, these two here, when you do a find, if you want to return all the records in selection, you would click Show All to bring back all the records that were done after a find was performed. You do the Show Hide button to show and hide the menus that are in the program at the top of the screen. And in this case, all of the applications for this that I build now have all the buttonology and interface connections that you need within the main screen, and you don't need the program menu, but very, very, very seldom. So that's not normally something you would need to do. If you're in the find mode and you want to return to the browse mode, you can click this button. It'll take you out of the find mode and put you back in the browse mode. Browse mode is where you're entering and editing data. The find mode is over here when you're in the search area and you're looking for different data or for records. You can do an undo or redo, and that's where if you make a mistake and you want to return to the previous settings and the previous thing you just did, you would click this and it'll toggle between undo and redo. Omit record. Omit record is if you have a set of records in selection and you'd say something like you're on a list view and you want to omit certain records, this button will do that for you, and only the records that would remain would be used in a print or other reasons for sorting them or looking at records. Sorting records. This allows you to take the existing records that you're viewing mostly in a list view and sort them by whatever field you want to sort them by. You'll get a dialog up that'll allow you to sort those records, and you pick the information that you want by the field as far as the column and the column header, and then you would go ahead and let that sort the records by that column header. Next is the website. What this does, this is a pop-up that allows you to add URLs that you want to be able to go to frequently. And what this does, you can add them by clicking on this website portal button. You add in the website name, the website URL, and then what you want to do is if you want to see this actual screen, which you would do like the Google Now, you would just click the play button on the jukebox here, and it would take you to that particular website by opening a browser. Very quick and easy to use. And this will scroll so you can have as many different URLs as you want in this jukebox to go look up websites. Click anywhere outside of it to close it. The next thing we're going to cover is this will take you back to the main calendar. I have this in there as a quick link that allows you to go directly back to the calendar without having to use the pop-down menu. There's a list view, which allows you to look at all the records in the current selection. In this case, there's only 4 current records in the database for customers, so that's all you would see in the list view. But if you actually did a find, there could be a subset of these. Even though they will all appear here, that subset in a list view would be based on how you did your search. For example, you might want to look for everybody in New York, or maybe a prefix for a telephone number like 519, or maybe you want to find everybody that it's in New York itself, just basically in New York itself, as far as NY is concerned. Or if you're looking for a particular street, you can put in the street name, it'll go right to that street. The next thing we're going to be looking at is this drop-down list menu. Basically what this does is it allows you to change records. You can go between them, and the way you would do this is you can see where it says Customer Select. All you have to do is you can see the cursor change, and now if I click on a different name, it changes all the records to the next record in line or the record that you're viewing. In this particular case, you can see how all the records change. The next thing is customer data. We're in customer data right now, and this is showing the information for the primary contact that is affiliated with a company or organization that you're doing business with. Now, in this particular case, this primary contact for this company also has related contacts. Now, this is a portal where you can add as many different people as you want to in your records down at the bottom of the screen. So you can have as many different people added to this, and you can go see the individual records by clicking at this box at the end of the portal to view this record and add notes that were in addition to what you see here up on the screen. And obviously this shows you the contact name, the position they are in the company, the department they're in, their department phone, their contact phone, their email. And if you go in the next screen, you're going to see additional options for finding people. Now, you cannot do a find in a portal. So if you clicked on the Do Action button and try to actually search by the portal, what you need to do is you need to go into the individual record, like you're viewing this one, go in there and do your finds from there to look for different records. It doesn't have to be the one you actually went into. It can be any of those records that are available within the contacts for the companies that are related contacts. Now, on the screen itself, the fields: contact name, address, city, county, state or province, zip, portal, company phone, sales phone, company president, company marketing or vice president director. You can also now, with this application, we're going to get to that in a second, add a lot more information in the customer notes. The type of company that it is. This is a drop down. If you click at the row, and you can add and edit things in here and add more companies by just entering them. Now, if you're on the iPad, you will have to take and click a second time in the field to be able to edit it. Websites. You put the website URL in, then you have the email for that particular customer, which is the primary. Now let's go to the buttons over here. Well, but prior to that, let's go ahead and look at the tabs. Let's go to the next tab, which is Location tab. Based on the URL, on the address that the person had in their particular file, in this case, this is where I'm at, it'll go right to the location, and you can do things like get directions and do other searches, or change this address up here and then go to another location if you need to. And then there are some other things you can do at the top of the screen within this. Additional data has the option to add a photo of the person. This information came over from the main screen. We have what were called UDF screens, user-defined fields. What these are, you put your own title in and your own entry. You can do that in any of these fields. They can all be different, and these can be searched if you want to, as far as going to the portal records for this UDFs and searching through those to find like items on different people. Now, this is a thing that my users came up with. They wanted to be able to add fields that I didn't have in the database, and they could put a title and the input in. So it gives a lot of flexibility on this screen to add additional information that was not a part of the screen information for that particular client. Proposal track. Proposal track, this is where you create the beginning of a proposal. What you would do in this screen is you would go ahead and create as many records for this client with this contact as you need to create proposals, and this is the first step in the second half of the back end of this application where we're creating proposals. Clicking on this icon here will take you to the actual project proposal area and also project related information for project management. You create the initial record here in this screen. You would put the proposal name, the date of the proposal number, and the proposal delivery date, delivered to, and the actual proposed value that it might be. And that can be any number that you want, up to millions. One of the things I suggest you do is you look at the initials for the person that you're actually making the proposal for, who is the main contact. Add that to your proposal number, and then as you sequence through each one of these, the next one for this client would be VC quadruple 01, and then 02, 03, and so forth. That way the proposals are unique to this particular customer and easy to define when you're back in the proposal listing to find an individual. For example, if I was doing a find and I wanted to find all the ones for Von Clement, I would go ahead and put in VC, and then everything for VC would come up as far as a list view of different projects. activity track. Now there are activity tracks, meeting tracks, and action items. The way these work, anything that is not a meeting or an action item would go into activity track. These are set up so that you can click on the icon here and it has a printable area in the portal, so you can print out an 8.5 by 11 page of the information that you put in here. Activity date, activity time, activity type, activity status, and the activity location and place where it's going to occur. And you can also search by the ID number that you see right here as to all the records for this particular client as far as the activity track items. Now, one of the things that I want to point out, activity tracks are things that are like delivering something, receiving something, sending out something, doing an email, taking a phone call, and if there's anything related to other things that you may be doing, like taking somebody to lunch and you want to have a activity track for that, you can do that. If it's not a meeting, now if it were a meeting and you were going to go to it for meeting purposes, then it would be in the meeting track. And when you're doing a meeting, this could be a local business or something international. You can carry your iPad or your laptop with you and add this information as you're at the meeting. And basically what would happen is you would put in the agenda, items that you want to cover at the meeting. You would put the meeting attendees, who's there. You would put in the meeting notes. You want to date them and put each one and then date the next one or time. And then what you're going to do, if there are action items related to the outcome of a meeting, you would click the action items and then add action items in to the individual person. You date and time it, name of the action, start date, action status, action finish date, action person, and then the narrative about what this action's for. Once again, if you click on this icon, it'll present you with a page that can be tracked. And if you're using this as a cloud app, the cloud app allows you to have people come in and edit this and update all the status. Let's go back in the meetings. The same thing occurs where you can come over here and click this icon, and then what it would do is open the screen to the, I'll show you this as an example of the other screens. You can see it's got meeting agenda, meeting attendees, and a big area for narrative. Now, obviously, if you're trying to print this as an 8.5 by 11 page, if the data goes off the box, it's not going to be able to be printed unless you scroll it up and print it a second time. The way you would do is use the scroll bars, slide it up, and then shoot another picture. And you can, on the iPad, you can use, if you're in FMGO, you can just take a picture of the page and then move it over to an email and send it out. Or you can make a text document out of it by printing it. Or if you're on the computer, it's very simple to just go up to the file menu and print the screen that you're looking at. These items over here will not print, only this document would print. So let's go back into the screen we're working in. One-click navigation gets you back to any screen on the entire application. Let's go up and look at customer notes. The customer notes are individualized to this customer. I suggest that if you're going to put notes in here, you date and time them and give the content information as far as what that note is about, then go ahead and put the narrative in. It makes it a lot simpler to come back and track those. Now this information will also come up in the calendar, so you can view these in the calendar if you need to. So this is related to the calendar. And if you actually make a change in the calendar, it'll also be reflected back here in the customer record. This series of buttons are new to these versions of applications, and what these are individual pop-up screens that are also portal records. And what you do is when you click on it, for example, like the pre-bid and for projects, you would click it and bring it up, and what it does is it has a series of fields you fill out that are related to the pre-bid, where marketing or sales would enter data in here, or you would enter it in here. And anything with an underline in it, like I said before, allows you to change the drop downs that are in here so that you can use it on the iPad. You can actually go in and then click on this item. It'll bring up a separate screen that looks like this. You would create a new record, add a new line in this field here, then go ahead and when you create that, it'll add it to the list. So if you're on the iPad, you would come here to edit this list. Once you create something in this list, do not delete it. If you delete it, it also deletes it in the records where it was located. So do not delete it. You can edit records if you had to, like if you just created it and for some reason you needed to go back and it hasn't been used yet, and you want to change the wording of it, you can click in and then edit it in this screen. Let's go back to the main screen again. The next one is the project photos. Now, If you're somebody who has a business where you have to do site surveys or you do service or repair, this is a perfect way to do things like before and after pictures. You take the picture before, with the iPad, for example, or iPhone, add another picture in here by clicking in the screen and inserting the photo. On the iPad or iPhone, it would say insert from library here, and you can add a library photo. You can also take videos and insert videos from the iPad. If you click on this link here, all these screens have links to go to the portals. If you want to do searches in the portals, this will allow you to do that. Let's go back up to the top. So if you wanted to see this in a larger view, you could go to that portal, and if you wanted to edit the information here or in the portal, you could do it. But I was saying before, if you want to do a search, you have to go to the actual portal to do a find. Let's go to the next item, site inspection. This is related to the last screen, where if you needed to put in a site location, a customer contact, if there was one at the location when you went there, or more than one, you can scroll them. You can have an inspection type that you're actually doing, and inspected by who did it. It may be one or more people. The inspected item, the narrative about that, you can put as much in there as you need to, and it scrolls. You can also do an inspection finding and scroll through that. What this would do is allow you to put the narrative about your outcome from this. This may be used as far as contract information, and this helps to clarify some things that you saw that are not necessary for the contract, but may be of interest to the marketing or sales group. Once again, there's a portal button to allow you to go see the portal and edit in a larger view where these fields are a lot easier to read. The next one is the schedule. This is anything that you have to manage and schedule. This could be, say, for example, a site team going out. Who's going to go? What days? What's the agenda to do while you're there? What were the scheduled results? In other words, what were you supposed to come back with? And then what the next event might be after this. And is this scheduled item completed? Yes or no? And again, you can go to the schedule portal. Be sure you date all these things. There's a date drop down that allows you to put the date in there. They automatically add the individual ID for the client that you're working with as far as the primary client. So they're easy to locate as far as searching if you had to in the portal. Correspondence. If you're sending out letters, brochures, or anything that's typed and you want to track it, you want to know when it was sent out, what it was, who it's sent to, what is the correspondence type, is it confidential or not, or whatever. The goal of the correspondence, what did you want the outcome to be from that correspondence, and then the results based on what actually occurred, you put that in there, and the next action that was supposed to be taken. And these, again, are all portals, so you can put as many of these in there as you need to for this particular client company. Once again, there's a correspondence portal where you can read this in a larger view. Next is the document tracking. If you're sending out documents like proposals, bids, requests for proposals, any of those kinds of items to this particular client, you want to track all of those. They're controlled documents, so you want to make sure, for example, you could even send out drawings or anything that's related to a project where there's information that you need to get a return from the client based on what the information was that you sent to them. Who you sent it to, what the document was, what was the purpose of the document, what's the results, and then the document filed at location, pardon me. What this does, this tells you where the document, control documents, were put, what filing cabinet or what drawer, or is it in a safe, or is it a drawing and it's put away in a certain drawer. This gives you the ability to go look up that drawing if you need to find out what changes were made. Next one is vendor selection. This is where you're creating a bid and proposal situation, and you're going to different vendors and you're going through each vendor's bids and proposal stuff that they're sending to you, or you might have an RFQ that's involved. You would put the vendor information, the primary contact from that vendor, was the RFQ sent, RFQ date, RFQ return date, when it was due back to you, was it a vendor selected, yes or no. You might have multiple vendors for this particular task. What's the vendor city and the vendor phone? What was the evaluation that you wanted the vendor to qualify on? What were the RFQ comments, one way or the other, either from you or from the vendor? And then what was the RFQ total requirements? These are the individual things that you would do in a work breakdown structure that you're sending to a client. For example, if you're in the WBS, which you're going to be covering later, and you wanted to cover certain portions of the contract for this particular client, you would put those RFQ requirements in here so that when you're looking at this, you can compare it to the actual document that comes back to make sure that they did cover all the RFQ elements. And you can see that once again, it is a portal, so you can put as many of them as you want in there. And the vendor portal allows you to go to the portal and search on individual portals and or records based on the number in this field. That pretty well covers this screen. If you have questions, I would suggest that you contact me either by this email that you see right here, that'll get to me, or on our website, which is ontargetsolutions.biz, and that's www.ontargetsolutions.biz. Leave a message and I'll be happy to get back to you. Thank you.